Hey everybody, it's Tara Green here. I want to talk about Saturn turning retrograde in its annual period, which it does every year, and it does so today, January 17th, 2023. This is an exact timing as Saturn turns retrograde at 1:28 p.m. This is set for New York. So there's Saturn down there. Saturn's in Pisces at 7 degrees. Now, the ascendant, is relative, right? So I'm not going to pay attention too much. I just wanted you to see it on the chart and to see how Saturn's interacting with the other planets. So Saturn is going to move retrograde, and all retrograde planets mean that we're reviewing, we're reflecting, we're renewing, anything that starts with RE, rejuvenating, rejecting, reinventing, rehab, especially rehab with Saturn and Pisces. All the territory that we've gone through so far since Saturn first entered Pisces on March the 7th. So think back about what started for you March the 7th when Saturn entered Pisces for the first time in 29 years. And now that it's moved up only 7 degrees since that time, Saturn will move backwards until November the 3rd when it stops at 0 degrees of Pisces. So we're really, kind of rewinding, reeling in the years. You should play that Steely Dan song. That's literally what this means. Saturn rules time. Saturn is called the Grim Reaper traditionally. Saturn represents fathers, the patriarchy, history, tradition, generally conservative. Okay, so Saturn is the reality principle in astrology. All planets symbolize a number of different things. They're related in this type of astrology, Western tropical astrology. The planets were seen as the gods and the goddesses. So Saturn was also called Chronos by the Romans, and the word time, chronology, relates to Saturn. So he was father time. Okay, so think about your time and how you've been spending it, or how it is seemed to be evaporating, because Pisces is the sign of literally things evaporating. It is the sign of fog, the smoke and mirror show. Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. So Saturn is kind of helping us to complete some major lessons. Pisces rules karma. So as Saturn is moving through Pisces from 2023 to 2026, we're all collectively going to be finishing up a major cycle, not just a 28-29 year cycle that Saturn archetypally moves through, but literally a humanitarian completion of a karmic cycle. So if you have planets in Pisces from 0 to 7 degrees, then you're definitely going to feel the pull of Saturn regressing. It's a great time to do past life regressions with Saturn in Pisces. Saturn is regressing. It's going to make you go over. It's going to make you review. It's going to make you reflect. It's going to make you regret. Saturn in Pisces can be regret. Pisces is the sign of addictions. It's the sign of illusion, delusions, projections, especially projections. So we want to, look at, re-examine our projections. And projection is literally what we all do. It's really what our consciousness is. We project out what our parents and our culture tells us reality is through our eyes, through our mind, through our consciousness, through our karma, which is in our emotional bodies. And we see things based on those projections. So they're not necessarily real, because it's all relative. That's an RE thing, actually, relativity. So Saturn is the reality principle. So Saturn in Pisces is kind of like an ironic thing. It's the planet of reality and the most unreal sign. And so, what is real and what's not? What's real and what's fake news? I mean, technically, we've been all inundated with fake news since the planet Neptune, the modern ruler of Pisces, entered that sign in 2011, and it will continue to be in Pisces until 2025-26. So yeah, these issues about what's real and what isn't. Pisces also rules viruses. It rules hidden things, secrets. It rules self-sabotage. It rules guilt. Saturn in Pisces is a big guilt thing. Now, this might be a time when you want to unravel or release guilt that you've picked up that maybe isn't yours. There's a collective guilt. What are you responsible for? Saturn is responsibility. You can only be responsible for what you've really done. Collectively, in a way, we are the result of our ancestors, and Saturn represents that. And Pisces represents the ability to tap into that ancestral wisdom. So you might want to go back and review and revisit your literal DNA ancestors, and work with them in the dreams. Pisces rules dreams, it rules imagination, it rules creativity. So there may be some creative project that you got left by the wayside. Well, Saturn is retrograde in Pisces. It's the perfect time to go back and work on completing that project, any kind of creative project, whether it's writing or dancing or painting or anything. It's a great time to do vibrational healing, to do sound healing, to be near water, literally to reflect. It's a good time to write a memoir because Saturn represents history. And for example, my uncle wrote a really great little book that he self-published all about my family's history. And I'm really grateful that he did, because they're all gone. All my parents and my aunts and uncles are all gone, and nobody would remember any of that. So that could be a good thing to do, if you want to put together, a sense of the history or chronology with your ancestors. But it is a good time to take stock while Saturn is in Pisces. So a lot of relationships will end with Saturn in Pisces. You want to reflect on toxic relationships. You may have to split from your family or your father, very literally, or you could go searching for your father if he was never around, or you want to find out who he was, and you've been projecting and wondering, and now you want to deal with the reality rather than just the illusion and the projection. So as for projections, people project onto us what they think we are and who we are. And so this can be a good time to disentangle those projections if you're in a relationship. So Saturn in Pisces is kind of slowing time down, okay, because Saturn is not moving forward. So take time to slow TF down with Saturn in Pisces, especially in the northern hemisphere here. We're hitting summer. It's going to be the first day of summer. It's summer equinox on June the 21st here. So you want to slow down. If you could be near water or do water rituals or anything to help your energy flow, it's a good time to do spiritual healing, Reiki, sound healing, again, past life regression, working with your dreams, most definitely. Saturn is a structure. It's discipline. You want to incubate your dreams. You want to tell yourself you're going to be awake in your dreams. You can practice lucid dreaming. You can practice, being the fly on the wall. You want some information. This would be a good time to review all of those kinds of things, or any kind of spiritual, really depth spiritual knowledge. Pisces represents the whole unconscious, the whole treasure trove. It might be a good time to read, Jungian dream therapy, or one of my favorites, James Hillman, and really study your dreams and really look deeply inside of yourself. Pisces is about the contents of our own unconscious, and that's what's actually getting us to move to. This is the reflection of what we do, is from the inner out. So it could be a very introverted time, kind of like the turtle in the shell. You're going to pull yourself in, or the crab pulls itself into its shell. It's a good time to do that because you need to kind of finish and spend time completing, I would say, any unfinished projects while Saturn is retrograde in Pisces. It's also, Pisces rules Hollywood, rules glamour, images. So again, this could be a time of reflecting on your self-image. It can be a time to watch old movies. It could be a time to pick up a film project, a creative project again. And Pisces, again, addiction. So look deeply at your addictions. I know it's very easy to get addicted to the internet these days. Any drug addictions, you may not be able to do what you were doing while Saturn is direct. It's like this is Saturn's helping you to drag your feet, to slow you down, take responsibility, and pick up those pieces of yourself. So again, it can be a very creative reviewing time. All retrograde planets are nothing to be afraid of. And again, it'll affect each sign differently. For example, if you're a water sign, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, you're going to kind of get the benefits easier in a way than other signs. If you're a Gemini, a Virgo, a Sagittarius, born in those first 7 days of that sign, as Saturn moves backwards through those signs, or if you have planets from 7 to 0 degrees of Gemini, Virgo, and Sagittarius, you'll feel Saturn's energy pulling you backwards. And then, when Saturn is going to turn direct in November the 3rd, then that is a time, it's a very much a turning point, because Saturn will again be right at the beginning of the sign. Right? So when Saturn turns direct, it's the 3rd, it's the 4th, depending on where you are. That's a time to kind of really set out. You're going to start a new spiritual beginning. This is a time for completion, and then you'll start a new beginning November the 3rd or the 4th. So think about that. I mean, again, usually you break time down into seasons. Again, we're hitting the solstice. If you're south of the equator, you're heading into winter. So the next quarter from June to September 21st, Saturn will be retrograde during that, and then really all into the middle of fall, because the midpoint of autumn to winter is Halloween, actually November the 1st. So really we're going through another, I would say, well, quite a long time. So it gives you a long time to reflect and a long time to really get to work on finishing those incomplete projects or taxes. Saturn rules taxes. Get those taxes done. Do a lot of releasing. It's a time for forgiveness. It's a time for compassion. You want to clear the energy out so you can start a whole new spiritual beginning. So you may want to re-examine whatever spiritual beliefs or crafts or teachings that you've had, and you may want to rethink all of that. So I'm going to do another video where I'm talking about Saturn affecting each sign, but I want to wish you all the best blessings. Now it's also a new moon, so I want to mention that as well. So the new moon is later today in Pacific Daylight Time. The new moon at 26 degrees of Gemini is at 9:37 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, and on the 18th at 12:37 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. So Saturn retrograde on the new moon is always a time of new beginnings, makes this especially more of a major turning point. Also, we're just a few days away from the big turning of the gateway, the sun moving into Cancer. So sending you all the best blessings. What else can I say here? If you're born in the first few days, the first week of Taurus, you get sort of an easier, in a way, benefit from that. Again, Virgos get this opposition that might be a little bit harder for them than other signs. So if you want to find out how this Saturn retrograde is going to affect you, yes, exes can come back. You can literally see ghosts. It may help you to tap into your own mediumistic and psychic energies. You may want to examine that. Everybody's psychic or intuitive to some extent. You want to go back and think about, how can I work with this? Saturn is the structure, the discipline. Start a spiritual discipline while Saturn is retrograde. Start a different spiritual discipline. Also a good time to do water cleanses, especially again in the northern hemisphere here while it's hot out. Good time to do water cleanses. And again, reflect, be near water. Water can be incredibly healing. And just imagine that you're really letting go of holding on to all of your karmic debts from yourself, your ancestors, back. And think about your ancestors who have helped you to be here, to be alive today. We don't want to erase the past. I know it's not what maybe people think is politically correct these days, but that's where we come from. We can't change it. We have to accept it for where it was, when it was. It doesn't mean it's right. But we need to honor our ancestors because we're here. It's literally, you have to honor them because you wouldn't be here without them. So sending you all the best blessings. If you want to find out about how Saturn retrograde is affecting you personally, get in touch with me at tarottarot.com. Sending you many blessings and sweet dreams.